for now. I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. And this is This Week
in Cruton.
That was so crusty.
It's This Week in Recruit. No, so what?
Crusty.
Nice.
That's a term. It's what the kids say now.
Explain it to me.
Crusty, like, it was just kind of like a, you know? No? Not a term you're familiar with? I feel like Powers has...
I know crusty. I mean, that's the thing at the end of pizza. Pizza crust.
I know Krusty. Krusty is the clown.
And if it's crusty, there's more crust.
Right.
I don't know.
No, I know.
Congratulations on derailing the show, Ashley.
That's what I'm here for.
It's Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at NextLevelD1 and see his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. I have been immersed in your world this week.
Wow.
Because I am working on a piece for the magazine.
Which you're going to say that it's your recruiting piece, and now I know that you write page 1 to the last page. That's how you write the magazine because
Correct.
That's in the front.
Correct. Yeah. I'm doing, but it's very labor intensive. I'm doing that recruiting between the numbers thing,
right,
which is always really fun to do. But the only way that you can do it is literally going and inputting all of the info manually for all the signees at all 130 FBS teams. Although technically it's 127 because Air Force, Army, and Navy don't have NLIs, right? So 127 FBS teams. And I've got to tell you.
And don't you love when Kansas State lists all of the walk-ons with all of the signings on their website?
Oh, yeah. No, they've got that. And then there's also – they've had a couple – was it Kansas State? I think Kansas State – yeah, Kansas State has a gray shirt. And I haven't seen a gray shirt in a minute, at the FBS.
Yeah.
It was bizarre.
Gray shirt is a player who doesn't sign a letter of intent in the signing period, walks on at the program, and then gets a scholarship the following January.
Usually there's the understanding that he will enroll maybe second semester.
Right.
And then he will, the wink, wink, nod, nudge is that, we'll put you on scholarship then.
It happens usually the following January.
Yes.
Unless something were to open up beforehand, they might give it to you, maybe.
Anyway, so I've been immersed in that world and just discovering all of these players who signed all over the place.
UTEP was another interesting website this year for that because they had 35 people listed on their website, but only
sort through which ones are actually
U is at the bottom of the list for you probably. You started A's.
No, I'm going
down?
conference by conference. So I did the ACC, I did the Big 12, and now I'm on the Big 10. So anyway, let's talk This Week in Recruiting. Let's start with our prospect on the rise. You can see this at TexasFootball.com, but we will start with our prospect on the rise. It is Argyle tackle Jack Tucker. Jack Tucker. He picked up a pair of new Power 5 offers, one from the SEC in the form of Auburn and one from the Pac-12 in the form of Cal. This goes along with a handful of other offers, including in-state offers from Texas Tech, Baylor, and North Texas, as well as out-of-state offers from places like USC, Ole Miss, Purdue, Washington State, Illinois. I got to say that this guy strikes me, and I watched a little bit of his film coming before we came on. This is a guy that his frame certainly looks like you can hang even more weight on it. I feel like that's a big reason why everybody's after Jack Tucker of Argyle.
And I think as he projects, he could probably play some left tackle, but I kind of like him as a big right tackle projection, a guy who can really maul you in the run game, set the edge, open up some lanes for a powerful, fast-paced rushing attack. And a guy who's only going to get bigger and better as he matures because you can see him going through drills here at the Next Level Athlete, Texas Top 100 in Dallas, and you can see that he has the frame to easily hold that weight. He's already a big boy, 270-ish pounds, but he walked away with MVP honors at that camp, and I have to tell you it was a pretty salty O-line group there, so he had a really good day in the drills and going through the one-on-one competitions as well. Pretty good offers coming in for him now, because you're talking about school like Auburn this week who's really starting to flex its muscle in the Lone Star State and target a lot of prospects. So that's a new school here. Not a new school, but they're definitely recruiting Texas much more fervently with some of the staff members that they've filled roles with there as assistants. Blake Gideon being one of those guys who's in the area pretty hard now, making his presence known in the state of Texas because he's Tucker's one of those guys that's going to continue to add him. I think he's got 13, 14 offers now already.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you too, like you can tell he's tall in this video, but he was one of those, like, he didn't even like fit on our backdrop because he was so tall. Like, I had to angle the camera up, and you could definitely see the ceiling of the practice facility. The kid's really, really tall.
6'6", 265.
Yeah, I was like, wow, you're a big guy.
That's a big boy.
When we talked about this in the
child.
past, he's a legit, like bona fide 6'6". He's a big 6'6".
Yeah, and the hair too. He looks about 6'8" with the hair.
He's not like 6'5" and a quarter, and we're going to round up. This is like a legit 6'6".
Yeah.
So Jack Tucker from Argyle, the tackle, a name to know in our prospect.
Argyle's going to be pretty good next year again, I think. They got two big linemen up front and Jasper Lott, so they're going to be pretty dominant in the run game.
Please pick up the magazine. But they're going to be – I think they're going to be a lot different. I think that they are going to last the past couple of years. They've been they've I think thrown the ball more because they've had Bo Hogaboom.
Right.
And now I get the feeling that they're going to go back to kind of – I mean, I hate to say it, but like –
Nick Ralston.
What we've always kind of known Argyle for, which they've had great quarterbacks, don't get me wrong. But like when I think of Argyle football, I'm like, that's smash mouth football. They're going to run the ball and run the ball physically. And it seems like with a guy like Jack Tucker up front and a fair number of other outstanding playmakers, they should be able to do that. Let's get to our commit of the week. We did have a commit.
Nice.
Oh, my gosh. 2021 Richmond George Ranch wide receiver Javon Gipson. Javon Gipson has made his selection. He had offers from Houston, Iowa State, Northwestern, and Tulsa, but he has made his decision to play for Baylor. The Bears pick up a commitment from George Ranch wide receiver Javon Gipson, and this is a guy who, fair to call him a burner?
Yeah, that's probably the best way to describe him. He's a guy who's a bona fide track athlete, state qualifier in the relays over there last year. Bringing a lot to the table. You know, he doesn't get a tremendous amount of opportunities in the passing game at George Ranch, but when he does get one, he really takes advantage of it. And I think he's one of those type of guys who will only continue to make his mark as he gets more touches. You know, and he's probably one of these guys that you know about. And now because he's committed to Baylor, people in the area are going to know even more about him when they play George Ranch. But you're really going to know him by the end of next season, his senior year, when he kind of flexes or blows up stats-wise. I mean, he's one of these guys who I think has a pretty big impact out on the field as a senior. And I think George, keeping in line with Argyle, I think George Ranch is a team that's going to be pretty good. Next year.
I think it's fair to assume that they're going to be pretty good. You know, because look, they've obviously got great pedigree, but this is especially they have a number of outstanding playmakers like Javon Gipson, who let's see, he caught 29 passes for 637 yards and 9 touchdowns as a junior last year. He was their leading receiver.
Right.
Their leading receiver, but you know the issue.
He's a 1,000-yard talent, and I want to give Baylor fans kind of like a warning, I guess. You're going to look at his 40 time and see that he ran a 4.71 last year. Don't put a lot of stack in that because he is one of those guys who's a long strider, fast in the 200, 400. He's one of the vertical type of guys that he may not get out of the gates with his first 2 steps as fast as some of these other guys, but as he generates that first 2-step speed, that 40 time is going to come down significantly. This dude can run. Don't pay attention to the 40.
That's interesting, especially on the heels of the NFL Combine, where we've been paying way too much attention to 40 times. Greg Powers and XL Lapley joining us here on Texas Football Today. Get involved with the conversation at #TF Today. Let's get to our underclassman of the week. It's probably a name that people know now. It is Duncanville quarterback Chris Parson. Of course, Chris Parson was thrust into the 6A Division I state championship game against Galena Park North Shore with the injury to Jaquin Jackson. I thought he acquitted himself fairly well, considering the stage. I think
doesn't look 14 either.
I think you know, overall that was about as good as you could have expected from a freshman making his first ever start on the biggest stage on national television. He has picked up an offer from Iowa after an unofficial visit to the school over the weekend. He already has offers from Kansas and Illinois State. And as the guy who it seems like, and I don't want to tell I don't want to tell Coach Samples, who's forgotten more about football than I'll ever know, what to do. But he seems like he's going to be the starter this coming year, or at least going to challenge for that. And it's easy to see why he's already blowing up, despite the fact that he only threw 38 passes last year.
Right. Scored 6 touchdowns as a freshman, which that's big time for Duncanville. There's not a lot of guys who get a step on the field as a freshman at that level for that school that has that much talent in it. But really, to me, he's the underclassman of the week for a reason that people may read this article or listen to this podcast and not connect these dots, so to speak. He picked up an offer from Iowa, which is not a dual threat quarterback school.
No.
So they're offering him a scholarship based on his throwing ability and ability as a pure pocket passer. And that, to me, is eye-opening in a way, because his offer list right now with Kansas on it, Les Miles has a system at Kansas that we can't say this is exactly what they want to do. He doesn't have his players in there. But traditionally, the Les Miles offense isn't a dual-threat offense either.
Yeah.
So this is a dual-threat guy who's picking up offers from schools, P5 schools, who want him for his arm.
Right.
And here's your sign. If you're a school that wants a dual-threat quarterback that can throw and is picking up P5 offers from teams that want a quarterback who can throw, offer Chris Parson, it's not going to be long before he has 25 offers.
Right.
He's a national talent.
Yeah, absolutely. And a guy who I think was just kind of thrust into the spotlight earlier than he was supposed to be, right?
Right.
And, I think we all kind of watched that going into that state championship game. We were all wondering, like, man, this is a freshman. I know he's, we'd heard how talented he is and things like that. But, like, what are you going to, how do you expect him to play? And again, I thought that was impressive.
Right.
He didn't he didn't outplay Demetrius Davis, but okay. Like, there's not a whole lot of guys in the state who are going to outplay Demetrius Davis.
Davis has a chance to be the best, one of maybe even right behind Kyler Murray if they win a state championship next year again.
Legend status.
Yeah, maybe the second best quarterback in the history of Texas high school football. That argument could be made.
Sure.
If they win the championship again next year. Just look at this tape. Parson reminds me of J.T. Barrett, who, played at Ohio State for 15 years, but he put up a lot of numbers there.
Right.
I think it's very telling, too, that he has this many regular season highlights for being behind Jaquindon Jackson.
Right. He was
these
getting a lot of
really good.
They were and they were running in the twos pretty quickly there.
But the fact that this is still, they're not just handing off the ball or having him do short screen passes. He's going.
Well, and here's another thing, okay? And this is maybe a small thing, but the fact that Chris Parson was the backup as a freshman is telling. Mm-hmm. That's telling that basically Reginald Samples thought that a freshman was the second best quarterback they had at a school with more than 4,000 kids.
Well,
that is not hurting for quarterbacks.
It's also telling that you, Chris Parson, don't even need the sub-varsity reps.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't even need them.
Right. That's exactly right. That the reason you don't see a lot of freshmen play quarterback,
right,
even as backups, is because they want them in the JV system at the freshman level, whatever level they want them to be at. They want them getting reps. This is a vote of confidence from Reginald Samples to say, no, I'm going to make him our backup so that if our superstar quarterback does go down, we think he's the second best option. That's telling. So keep an eye on Chris Parson. You're, of course, going to hear his name a fair amount. And finally, let's get to our recruit of the week. Our recruit of the week, we're going down to Austin. Austin LBJ cornerback Latrell McCutchin has decommitted from Alabama. He's a longtime Alabama commit, but has, of course, a plethora of offers from places like Texas, LSU, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Georgia, Tech, Baylor. He went on an unofficial visit to OU when he announced that he decommitted. Is that a bridge too far? Is that to say? Is that connecting two dots that we shouldn't be connecting?
I think that's a pretty strong
correlation, right?
They either did a really good job of saying at least you should consider us and open things back up today.
Right.
I want you to go ahead and do it while you're here on a visit.
Yeah.
So I think that you can say that OU is going to be a strong player. And let's go with the simple way of saying OU is going to be a strong player for Latrell McCutchin.
Yes, and a guy down there in the Austin area who I know has made noise, a sure tackler at the cornerback position, a guy you don't feel you're not worried about putting him on an island, it seems like.
And they went 8-3 last year at LBJ without Latrell because he was out with a knee injury. So he's picked up all these offers on sophomore tape and reputation.
Yeah.
So he's a big-time guy that we didn't really get a strong look at last year in 2019, who's going to be a game changer for a team that didn't have him that went 8-3. So they're going to use him, and they're going to use him on both sides of the football. He's close to being 100% healthy. We may get a chance to see some sneak peeks of him this spring, maybe in some camps or combines or 7-on-7 events, possibly the state championships. I don't know, but hopefully we do, because I'm really excited about this kid because he's 6'1", 185 pounds, true lockdown style corner, and guys like that are few and far between that can actually play on an island that have that type of length.
He's Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at NextLevelD1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting, although he's going to hang around for the final segment of the show. So, thanks for coming by, buddy.
Anytime. Let's not do it next week, but the week after. Let's
we'll
bring
do
it back.
That's fine.